We're live, by the way. So
Okay.
when the Substack link catches or whatever, let me know.
I'm waiting for a notification.
Substack.
There it is.
Did it just pop?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
There we are. Pam Smith has joined.
Oh, okay. Cool. So we have viewers. Yay.
We have viewers. Trisha.
Who is that's you, Miranda. You're hammer typing.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'll mute next time.
You're hammer typing.
She's angry at the keyboard.
Yeah, I feel like you're very upset at the keyboard and you're trying to take out your frustrations on the keyboard. By the way,
Hey, you're the one here who's broken the most keyboards, Wendy.
Oh.
You know, I used to have a keyboard that was made out of the rubbery mylar shit or whatever. You could pound the shit out of that keyboard all you want, it would never break. And somebody bought me one once and thought it was funny as a joke, but I actually used it for a year because I was a very upset person. All right, well, anyway, so while we're ramping up, is everybody enjoying their Yuletide? I know not everybody celebrates Yule. Or is Christmas? So, Miranda, you're going to Raccoon Ridge. Sarah's going to go to a queer party because she's finally queer and she goes to party now.
Yes.
I got a gift from my boss.
What was it? What is it?
It's an ornament. It's an engine light.
I feel like, okay, a check engine light is not a gift. That somebody...
I mean, we work in the automotive industry. It absolutely is.
No, I feel like a check engine light is something you shouldn't get as a gift.
It's like
a check engine light is a curse.
Right.
Unless you drive a BMW and then it's just always on.
Oh, wow!
I can say that as one of my technicians has
when
one.
I had a Beamer.
Wow, that you know that hurt.
That's how you know the car's on.
That oxygen, that O2 sensor just goes bad every fucking time, and that's what it is, and that annoys the shit out of me.
He's got a bumper sticker on that car that says that it's a hybrid because it burns both gasoline and oil.
You know, one day I'm gonna have to tell the Louisiana story again for that reason, because the Challenger I drove in college did that. So you'd drive it 200 miles, you'd have to stop it, wait a half an hour for the engine block to cool off, go into the trunk, grab a quart of Castrol, pour a quart of Castrol into it, wait another 15 minutes, start the car back up, and then you were good for 200 miles. All right, let's get into it right out. So today's topic is the mirror as enemy, because body dysphoria and dysmorphia are both relevant topics when you're a queer person, especially when you're a trans person. I specifically did not shave today just for this topic.
Oh wow!
I also didn't shave today.
Yeah. I mean, because this topic is real. So let's start this off. We'll just go right into it. There's a distinction between body dysmorphia and gender dysphoria. Did you understand that body dysmorphia involves distorted perception of features that others see differently, while gender dysphoria is the distress from the misalignment between one's gender identity and assigned sex.
Right.
And they can coexist. They're not the same goddamn thing, but treating them as a result, treating them requires different approaches. So when you conflate the two together, and people do this all the fucking time,
Oh yeah.
You end up in therapeutic dead ends. Body dysmorphia might respond to cognitive behavioral therapy, that challenges your distorted perceptions. Gender dysphoria, however, often requires affirmation, transition steps, and sometimes medical intervention, as Onyx is so previously aware.
Right.
Mixing them up means you're applying the wrong tools to your actual shitty fuck ass pain. So from a practical before we say that, the failure to recognize difference is a failure of vision. And vision is what we need most when looking at ourselves. If you don't know who said that, that's Judith Butler. But from a practicality perspective, you understand both conditions and how distinct they are. You have to track thoughts. I feel my body incorrectly versus my body doesn't match who I am. And then you recognize and engage in gender affirming, which helps with both, but not always in the same way. So, Miranda, I'll let you begin.
Okay, I'll be it. Yeah, so there is a lot of confusion about the two and how they interact or don't interact as far as it comes to trans lived experience. I've had a lot of people who've said, well, if your trans identity is all in your brain, why don't trans people change their brains to match the bodies that they have? And that's kind of and I know that they sometimes mean that as a gotcha, but that is really how medical science and the religious community used to treat us exclusively. They have tried shame-inducing talk therapy. They've tried electroshock therapy. They've tried aversion therapy. They've tried all of those things to torture us into changing our minds about who we are. But affirmation is the only thing that really helps us. And for different people, affirmation looks differently. So something that I've had the opportunity to explain to some cis friends of mine is that gender dysphoria as a concept has kind of this broad implication of not feeling like your assigned sex matches the gender you experience, but also dysphoria is more complicated than that, and it has like different people's experiences of dysphoria in relation to specific parts of their body is going to be different. So for example, I don't think that my gender affirming care is going to include at any point getting breast implants. Now, I am taking HRT. I've grown what I have, and they are continuing to develop. But for some trans femme people, like having, a certain breast size or something is going to be a lot more affirming for them than it is for me. So I don't have anything else right now, but I just wanted to continue the idea that like it's dysmorphia and dysphoria are different, and also it's different for different people.
Onyx.
Yeah, so dysmorphia, not too sure about. I come to the dysphoria, and one of the things I want to mention about dysphoria is that oftentimes the mental anguish becomes physical. So you gain a lot of anxiety and pain, like physical pain. So you have the mental pain, which then becomes physical pain, physical anxiety, physical anger, and that's what the dysphoria does to you if you are trans or trans-identified, non-binary. That it eats away at you. So I my first dysphoria, like the biggest dysphoria when I started transitioning, was bottom dysphoria. So I immediately took care of that as quickly as I could. Um, I went to a surgeon whom nobody should ever go to. Ever, ever, ever. That's how bad my dysphoria was. I knew ahead of time, and I went to this surgeon anyway. Now, I'm not going to name their names because they are horrible and do horrible things to trans people. But that's how bad my dysphoria was. The next thing was my face. And I've been working on getting FFS since 2013. So yeah, I've had people come up to me before getting FFS and tell me I have a wonderful face, and why would you ever want to do anything to it? And then I've come across people like my mom or other family members or friends, well, past friends, who would say, you look like a man, you're always going to look like a man, regardless of what you do. And, so in the end, that mind versus body connection is something that I myself had to think about in terms of how I wanted to solve it. And I solved it by getting gender affirming surgeries. Yeah.
Sarah.
I don't know how much I really have to speak on for this. I can say that when I had my hysterectomy last year in the summer, that kind of ended up being accidental gender affirming care, because it was after that I kind of started questioning gender. And maybe a little before that, but it didn't really come into focus until then.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because that really goes into my next point, which is you have to challenge the one more thing spiral, because this is a very real thing. You recognize the pattern where you're going through transition as a gender fluid person, as a gay person, from an orientation perspective, that involves changes. There are changes that happen whether you're changing your gender or you're aligning your gender or aligning your orientation. And that pattern is the thing that says, okay, X will fix everything. But once you get there, you fixate on Y.
Right.
And then Z. And this isn't proof that transition doesn't work. Now, GOP assholes say that that's why transition doesn't work. Because you get to transition and then it doesn't fix it, and they're like, see, you're fucked up or whatever. It's how body dysmorphia operates as a byproduct of that sensation. And so it moves the target. It promises that if you just fix the one thing, you'll finally be acceptable. And that's bullshit. Transition is a process, and it is a process that involves numerous iterative steps over and over and over.
And
it was that way back in the 60s. You know, I've said this. I was friends with Carolyn Cossey for a time. So, because she lived in the city I lived in, and she was approachable. So, you know, she had to pass without hormones for a year before she could even qualify for hormone replacement therapy. She went on through hormone replacement therapy, and then she went through top surgery, and then she went through bottom surgery. Those are all stages of the process. So body dysmorphia becomes unsatisfiable. Gender dysphoria can be addressed and often improves with affirmation and transition. People that tell you, people I work with, for instance, when I go into the office, people walk up to me, I love the way that your outfit fit today. You should keep wearing it. I have people affirm that. That makes gender dysphoria go away. But if dysmorphia is in the driver's seat, no amount of transition will ever shut it up. It's just find new features to attack. And you need to treat both and not assume that one fixes and solves everything. Desire is never satisfied by the attainment of what it desires. It's satisfied by desiring something real. And so, you know, like people who are, and this is a thing, I mean, there's an actual psychology attached to this. Plastic surgery addiction.
Yes.
Is very real. And, you know, that's the person that, okay, my boobs aren't big enough. Now my hips aren't wide enough. Now my waist isn't narrow enough. Now my face is sagging. Yada, 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 over and over and over and over again, which ultimately ends up in a lovely late 80s, early 90s movie called Death Becomes Her. And if you've never seen this movie,
That's a fantastic movie.
It is a fantastic.
It's also on Broadway.
Oh, God, they did a Broadway show
nice.
of that movie.
Nice.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
And the staircase scene is epic.
Oh, my God. Goldie Hawn. Like, I thought Goldie Hawn's career was over when that movie came out. So you ask yourself, before you go to the next procedure, is this dysphoria or is it dysmorphia? And which of those voices is in my head talking? And then you work to understand both and distinguish both of them. And then you set realistic expectations. Transition addresses gender congruence, not body image struggles, because those are different. Mm-hmm. Okay, Miranda.
Yeah, so Onyx was talking about her facial feminization surgery a few minutes ago and how there were these external pressures from family members and so-called friends. And I think that kind of brings up a couple of important points. One of those is what you do to your body, whether that is surgical or fashion choices or how you do your makeup or like any level of any of that. You really have to be doing it for you and because it's what you know will affirm who you are and how you feel. If you're doing it because of other people saying you look like a man, then getting the work done isn't going to solve that problem. There are still going to be people who reflexively say you look like a man because you're a trans woman, and that's like their go-to insult. But there's like, it's not just people in your circle necessarily that put these pressures on us. There's also, something that we talk about in the trans community sometimes is passing culture.
Yes.
And, for people who don't know, that's the idea that trans people should try to pass as the gender they're trying to affirm. And it's very much coded in this idea of like only binary trans people.
Right.
And that's like fuck that too.
Right.
But also like passing culture and the idea of passing is inherently tied to the Western beauty standard, which is white, young, virginal, creepy.
Right.
um, and and so you can't let yourself get caught up in this idea of trying to be um, that kind of woman, because that's not attainable. It's not healthy, and um, it's actually a very negative portrayal of womanhood.
Onyx.
Yeah. First of all, to Miranda's point, there is such a thing as the passing culture, and passing culture is it's one of assimilation. You want to assimilate into the gender you're trying to kind of fit into, and that's where things become a little bit transmisogynistic or transphobic. It's like pushing, and it's that binary system, like you said, where that you have to push everyone to one side or the other, and people who are in the middle or completely outside, well, sorry. But ultimately, surgeries, especially gender affirming surgeries, come down to, or should come down to, and for me, they come down to, like, what can I do to correct the affirmation, or to affirm in my head what I feel versus what I see. So the idea of body dysmorphia, where you keep on getting surgeries to fix it, but you look in the mirror and you can't tell anything's different. So you're like, let me just do a little bit of this, then let me get a little bit of that. That kind of runs into dysphoria too. But the thing about dysphoria is there is a stopping point, or at least there should be, in my opinion. And like, some people do want breast augmentation. That's not something I want. I am affirmed in my breast growth naturally. But the things I didn't get were like things that I wanted. And so, and things that I felt like I needed in order to uh, align my mind with my body. So, and in doing that, I feel like I'm pretty much done in terms of medical transition. There may be one more thing, or two more things, and that's the rest of electrolysis and vocal cord surgery. But like I told Egg, if I don't ever get vocal cord surgery and I talk like this for the rest of my life, I am 100% happy. I've done what I wanted to do. My FFS came out the way I wanted it to. So, I am over the moon right now, just completely over the moon. And just once again, like to thank everybody at Substack for really gassing me up. It's helped a lot with my mentality and with my belief. And I think I did the right thing. I think my dysphoria is pretty much gone. One of the things I want to say is that, with dysphoria, you know when it's gone. Like, the minute I woke up from FFS, it was gone, and I knew it was gone. And I felt this sense of peace that I had never felt before, knowing that it was complete, and I didn't have to do anything else, medically, that is. So, yeah, that's that. That's all I got.
Sarah.
I don't know.
I'm putting you on the spot as the gender fluid, relatively newer gender fluid person in the band. So, I mean, the realization is that, Sarah, as you progress through your journey, you may find yourself dealing with these very things.
I can say that there's times where there's things that I wish I could change, but then at the same time, I'm like, well, do I really want to change that, or would I miss it? So it's kind of a, do I really want to change anything?
Right.
I wonder if that's dysphoria beginning for you, you know, like beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's that question. But here's the thing about that. You can stop dysmorphia and ultimately dysphoria even much before that, just by being around people that see you the right way.
Right. Right.
If you surround yourself with people who gender you correctly, who see you as you are, the real you, and who don't require you to justify your existence, then why the fuck does it matter?
Yeah.
Why does holding on to that lack of view of yourself? Now, I'm going to put Sarah on the spot right here.
Oh boy.
Yeah, get ready.
Uh-oh.
I sent Sarah 2 pictures yesterday, and I asked her, is that the person that you see? And what was your answer?
It's not the same person, but that I see who you are now, kind of just below the surface.
Right. Because those are like the 2 photos that I love most about my previous self, that at the same time I hate the most about my previous self. You know, when dysphoria and dysmorphia team up with each other, and they do, your internal perception becomes completely unreliable. I know mine does. You know, you need external anchors and people who affirm your gender, people who see you more accurately than you see yourself in that moment. A partner, a community, chosen family, people that understand that some days the mirror is the fucking liar and you don't want to look at it. And you need someone to remind you of what is actually true. This isn't about validation seeking. That's about balance when your own lens distorts that reality. Because outside of your own lens and outside of the voice in your head that says, fuck you don't know what the fuck you're doing, there are people out there that will tell you you're wrong. You are beautiful. You are attractive. You are feminine. You are masculine or whatever. And so you build friendships with other trans and gender non-conforming people who fucking get it. You ask trusted people how they perceive you. I have to tell you, I can't tell you from my perspective as a transit rider. I ride transit to work. There is no better feeling than when somebody walks up to me and goes, those boots are fucking awesome and they look good on you.
Indeed.
And that's just a random fucking comment. Now, of course, universally, my answer is to them, yeah. And finding them in a size 15 women's was impossible. But you create that community, you create that ritual that affirms your gender without requiring physical perfection, because we need each other to see ourselves clearly. The mirror shows us only the surface, but community and gathering is the thing that reveals truth. And I'm going to quote Audre Lorde every day if I can do it. So
Yes,
That's always a good move.
yeah,
it is.
so, Onyx, you first.
Oh no, go ahead. Quote Audre Lorde.
I just did.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. We need each other to see ourselves clearly. The mirror shows only surfaces, but community reveals truth. That's classic Audre Lorde.
Okay. Yeah. Community. That's a big thing. In real life, I don't have that type of community. I do have affirming people outside of my blood family. Um, I do have affirming people who have, from the get go, never misgendered me. There's actually been only one person in my life that has never misgendered me from the get go, and that's my bestie, Mish Mish. Even Egg has misgendered me numerous. I've misgendered myself numerous times. I'm not gonna lie. I'm just like, and then I catch myself and I'm like, what did I just say?
Who the hell was I talking about?
But like online, I've built a community of friends and associates and such that are queer and affirming, and I find that's what I needed. That's what I was looking for. And community is such that when you're a part of one, you feel enveloped in a like a wrapping of warmth, and you need that. It's like honesty, brutal honesty at times, but honesty affirmating, honesty and affirmations, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna. I already picked on you once, Sarah. I'm not gonna do it to you again. So this is Miranda has to go. That's why I'm not going to pick.
Yeah, pick on me instead. Yeah, so community is very important, and it's like I have a couple recent experiences that were very affirming for me that I can share, I guess. One of them, I was had a FaceTime with a friend of mine who's a cisgender woman. And we talked for about an hour. And, we talked about some like trans issues kind of stuff, like politics and whatnot. But it wasn't a conversation that was about the differences between trans women and cis women, which is like too often how those kinds of conversations can go. But it was just like, she knows that our community is going through some shit. And so she wants to be, informed enough to be properly supportive and to be a good ally. But like we had this wonderful conversation, and I got off the phone with her and sent her a text a few minutes later. I was like, oh my gosh, one of my favorite things is girl talk, and just being able to have girl talk that is not, it's, I don't know, like doesn't have a like disclaimer in front of it.
Right.
And so like that was really affirming. And then there was this like the other day I was flirting with my wife, like you do, and gave her like some kind of very like cheesy sort of look of longing, and she was like, if everyone could see the look that you're giving me right now, nobody would ever question your womanhood.
You're doing it again, Miranda. You said you weren't going to do that.
Cry on
Yeah.
camera? Did I say I wouldn't do that?
Yes, you said you weren't going to do that.
I'm so good at crying, though.
That's a beautiful thing.
It's not
It
sad
is.
tears this time, Wendy.
It is. I it's almost like I can remember walking around a pool table late at night in a bar and being looked at by people in a certain way, and my spousal person just laughing about it. It was hugely affirming, but I'm not going to call the other person out, so at least not publicly. To deal with this, you address the underlying trauma that causes both of them to be as big as they are. So often, intense body dysmorphia and gender dysphoria are compounded by other trauma. Childhood bullying, SA, graping, family rejection, constant misgendering. Those layers add layer upon layer upon layer upon layer upon layer of trauma. And those layers of trauma teach your nervous system that your body is fundamentally unsafe. So there's a book, if you're a reading person out there, called The Body Keeps Score. That book is an inherent requirement in dealing with treating body dysmorphia and body dysphoria, because your body remembers trauma physically, mentally, emotionally over time. There's a pattern and your body adjusts to it. Sort of from a physical perspective, imagine it the same way that your body physically normalizes to things. For instance, smell. You go to someone else's house when you were a kid and the house smells differently because the smell in your own house was an olfactory smell that your body just normalized to. So you can't, but somebody else, different story. The body's emotional states are the same way. And so when your body becomes the container for all of that shit, every time you look in the mirror, you're not just seeing your reflection. You're seeing every moment someone made you feel wrong, or every violation, or every rejection. And that's not just dysphoria or dysmorphia. That's the actual trauma that you are experiencing. And so the body keeps score. And sometimes what we see in the mirror is not our body, but our history written in the flesh that you see. So, yeah, I mean, from a therapeutic perspective, you do like I did. I did hundreds and hundreds of EMDR sessions and somatic experience sessions and IFS sessions to address my feelings. And then you recognize that hypervigilance about appearance stems from survival mechanisms. You understand that healing trauma won't eliminate dysphoria, but it'll make it go almost virtually away.
Right.
So, Onyx.
Well, I don't really know what to add to that, except for, yeah, you're right. If you are in a circle of people who are affirming you, then, there are points, at least in my situation, there are points where the gender dysphoria disappeared. Not all the way, but enough to where I can get through. For me, when I was alone or around another type of people, my gender dysphoria was amped up. It's something that ultimately, person by person, you kind of have to choose how you're going to handle it. If you don't have a chosen family who hypes you up all the time and affirms you, then you know, like I was in a situation. Well, I need to do this. Now that also stems, I think, from when I started transitioning, which was in 2015. There was that idea that you have to do the real life test, which is being in your gender for a year before you get hormones, which was fucking crazy. But yeah, that's how it used to be done. You know, you had to just all the crap that goes along with it. But so I was going linear until I got to a point where I was like, okay, hold on. You know, there are certain things that I need to get taken care of first. First was bottom surgery. Along with bottom surgery, concurrently was electrolysis, which I still haven't finished, and I've paid a lot of money. You know, electrolysis is way too expensive. But electrolysis, FFS, you know, I had an orchiectomy and then bottom surgery within 2 years of each other. I had FFS December 11th. So stuff still isn't settled yet. But honestly, like I said, when I woke up from FFS, I have never felt that kind of peace before. It was a sense of finality where I knew that everything was done. And that's that. Yep.
It's okay on it. It's okay. Miranda.
Yeah, so when you were talking about like the body keeping score and sometimes the mirror like holds all of that history, I was that made me think about like my facial hair specifically. Today is like 2 days of no shaving, and I don't have any makeup on. I am a little over 2 years into my transition. My facial hair growth is a lot slower, a lot thinner than it used to be, just from the hormone change. And then I've just been using an at-home IPL grade laser, which has its limits on effectiveness versus professional grade lasers or electrolysis. But like what I'm at a point where most days whenever I do my makeup, I don't do extra color correction for my beard shadow because it doesn't bother me that bad when I look into the mirror, like it would have a year ago or 2 years ago. You know, but then there are these times when like I'll think about all of the ways that I used to use facial hair as a mask.
Right.
So
Yeah.
like
Right.
I grew my first full beard when I was 15. I had several variants of different beard styles and mustache styles. I you know, had like the big Tom Selleck mustache for for a while, and so like all of that is part of my past. And there are days when I look in the mirror and I think about those things, or like I see the hair shadow that's on my lip today and think, oh my God, that's the mustache. Ugh. But because I've done so much work on the trauma, and because I'm moving in a direction that I want to go, it's easier for me to say, okay, yes, you used to have that, but like that is not who you are. This is who you are, and you're becoming even more of who you are. Um, but it's a process sometimes, and um, you have to argue with the mirror a little bit.
Yeah, no, definitely.
I mean, I readily agree with you. Um, you know, there's a reality here. There's a separate mirror reality from social reality. We don't see ourselves as others see us. And sometimes that gap is where our truest self lies. James Baldwin, by the way. The mirror only shows one version of yourself, the one lit by bathroom fluorescence, caught in mid anxiety, filtered through decades of internalized shit. And the social reality is how we move through the world, how people respond to us, how we embody gender and motion and relationship. And um, that's not the same data set. I agree with you, Miranda. I in my bathroom, I have orange color corrector to cover up my facial hair. And I would tell you that 60% of the time, I just put the primer on my face, wait for it to dry, take the cover up, blend the cover up on my face, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Um, you know, why does that matter? You can pass beautifully in public, feel affirmed in your relationships, and yet your reflection can still affect you.
Right.
Or you can see someone you don't recognize in the mirror, but feel entirely yourself outside of that. The mirror is just one piece of feedback. And that's the piece of feedback that you don't want because it comes from your harshest critic.
Right.
We are critics of ourselves infinitely more than anybody on the outside that calls us a tranny or a sissy or a faggot or whatever.
Yeah. So like, as much as it sucks to have those people out there spewing that nonsense, like all of what they're doing is just following a script.
Yeah.
But like,
Yes.
when you look at yourself in the mirror and you criticize yourself, like that's a reflection, if you will, that will that can hurt you a lot more if you don't step away from the mirror and see yourself in different contexts.
And I think that's not wholly, but a part society that says you are not this, you will never be this. And then you go look in the mirror and it's implanted in your brain already that, I'll never be this,
Yeah.
I'll just never be this beautiful. I will never be this. I'll never be cis enough, which has never been my plan. But there are people whose plan it is to be as cis as possible, as cis passing as possible. But sometimes it's just hard to attain, and the mirror does lie. The mirror definitely lies.
Oh yeah, it most certainly does. That's why you have to celebrate small moments that happen. Um, when you have a moment, even a second, where you catch your reflection and you think yes, or someone genders you correctly and your chest opens up and you move and you feel right in your own body, that's data. That's proof that alignment is possible and that I'm not broken, that you're not broken, that she's not broken. um, you know, those voices are loud, they're constant. Um, Gender euphoria is quieter and it's rarer, um, but it's no less real. And the fact of the matter is that euphoria is often much more trustworthy than a dysmorphic feeling or a dysphoric feeling because it shows you what that correctness, what that rightness, what that alignment feels like. It's the compass that doesn't point to north. That's the compass that points to you, points to yourself. And so you remember those moments. Joy is an act of resistance. And gender euphoria is revolution happening in your own goddamn body. And I'm sorry, Leslie Feinberg. Holy fuck. Um, but
The special thing about Euphoria is it hypes you up now, like how you are, but it also has um, like unrealized potential to it. So it's like this is, you're feeling this because this is good, this is you, this is authentic, this is good enough, and it's who you are. And also, this can empower you to be even more who you are.
you're good enough, you're strong enough, and doggone it, people like you.
Yes.
I'm starting to choke up now.
All I know is like these days I look in the mirror and I am so happy. That's gender euphoria, and my gender euphoria is like way the fuck up here now. I never thought I'd be able to be that high in terms of just like, yeah, settled in my body. But I am, I'm settled and I'm at peace. And it took some surgeries, yeah. It took some hype ups, yeah. It took some um, downturns along the way. Um, but I fought against all of it, And I looked at it as like I look at it now as kind of a battle from the beginning to now, and I won, And that is a satisfactory feeling in and of itself, that I won. Um,
Now, Sarah. What? No? You're telling me no? Fine. Here's the lesson that I wanted to teach today. The mirror isn't your enemy. It's also not your authority. Never will be. Those feelings, dysmorphia and dysphoria, can coexist and they compound each other and they create a special kind of hell that we live in where you feel like you can't trust yourself or your own eyes. The solution isn't perfect. It's building a relationship with your body that does not require visual approval. Surrounding yourself with people who see you the way that they're supposed to see you. and addressing the trauma that amplifies everything and trusting the moments of euphoria as much as you fear the moments of dysphoria. But the thing that is crucial, the thing that people who are listening that you need to hear, the thing that Miranda needs to hear, the thing that Onyx needs to hear, the thing that Sarah needs to hear is that you are not broken. Your perception might be, and your history might be, but the world's treatment of you definitely is. But you yourself, Miranda, Onyx, Sarah, anybody watching, you're just trying to exist in a body that society has taught you to hate. That's not weakness. That's not cracks. That's not insecurity. That's not depression. That's not sadness. That's none of that shit. That's surviving something that started before you even knew what the fuck it was. Before you even knew what that meant or how it worked or why you believed that it was that way to start with. And that's the thing that you have to get past. And I'm sorry, I sound like a preacher. I can't help it. I can't help it. Miranda, do you have anything?
Yeah, so like I was you got me thinking about this line that like this people will use to describe their understanding of the trans experience, and that is the like born in the wrong body narrative. And you know, there was probably a time when I felt something like that, but it was not the way that like they describe what that means. But like I felt broken enough that I felt that way. And you know, fortunately I've learned that you know, even though I want to customize this body in certain ways, I don't have that kind of perception that my body is wrong that I might have had at one point. And it's nice to get past that, to get to a point where you can like see affirming your gender or affirming your physical presence in from other perspectives as loving the body that you have, not as from a perspective of like the body is wrong.
You're exactly right. Honest.
Miranda, I wish I could seen it that way, but I did not. I was of the perception that my mind and my body were not matching, and I needed to take measure or steps to bring that body in alignment with my mind. So bottom surgery, first of all, all of this started because I was thinking, how the fuck can I be a guy and be a lesbian? You know, that was my jumping off point. So all of this has brought me into alignment, not the facial feminization surgery, but definitely bottom surgery kind of helped with that. Facial feminization more something where I felt I had to do it for myself. Yeah, I got a negative comment, a lot of positive too before surgery. So I had to realize that regardless of how it came out, if it was botched or if it came out perfectly, it was something that I did for myself. And I did it for myself not to improve my station in life, but not necessarily that, but to improve the way I felt about myself. Excuse me. So, yeah, some people may say body dysmorphia. I tend to think it's dys, um, now body euphoria, like gender euphoria as opposed to gender dysphoria. I had a lot of negative feelings surrounding my body, but by bringing or changing or correcting parts, and leaving other parts alone, like really my voice or the face, which I agree with Wendy. That I don't use a lot of makeup. If I have a little shadow showing, that's okay. I'm not really too worried about it. Um, I'm not going to go 6 days without shaving and go out in public. That's just not me. But I will go 3 days, and go out in public with a little shadow. And that's fine. I don't necessarily mind that. There were just certain procedures I had to have to align my mind with my body. I feel like now that I've had those procedures, I'm pretty much done. And my gender dysphoria, which did manifest as anger and anxiety and so on and so forth, even though I already have those, it's just a different part of it. Those parts of it are gone, and I feel peace. Yeah.
Well, thank you both.
Thank you. Yeah.
I let Sarah try to close that, and she decided not to.
I can't read other people's words. I would have tripped all over it.
Ugh! You're getting the words pre-session next time. I don't want to fucking hear it.
Yeah, but it's not my ideas. Like, if I'm going to say something, it's got to be something that I'm feeling.
What are you feeling?
There's been a couple things that have kind of passed through my mind. One of them was something my dad said that I think at the time was him being insensitive and trying to be funny, but he used to say that he was a lesbian trapped in a man's body.
I have to tell you, as a trans woman who is in a relationship with another queer person, that I had the same issue, because my ex was like, you went through all of that shit just to end up being in a relationship with a woman again. And I said,
I was like, yeah, that's
look, I don't fit in your fucking box, so that's all there is to that.
That was the whole point. There was no like, ha 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 ha. It was like, why do I feel like this? Like 100% legit. Why do I feel like this? And I went through a lot of therapy. I'm still in therapy. A lot of therapy, hours and hours and hours and hours. Way too much money spent with a gender therapist. But yeah, that was my legit feeling. Why do I feel like I should be a lesbian? A female identified lesbian. In this trapped man's body. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, as much as I think that he would have been unaccepting of me, looking at that statement now makes me wonder if there wasn't something else to it.
Right.
I mean, was your dad telling you that he was gay? I mean,
I don't know. Maybe he was telling me that he felt more feminine than he was letting on.
And like prior generations may stay in the marriage, tough it out, but then they'll let little sentences out, little phrases out that if you look at them, may become give a little bit closer information as to how they really did feel, and reasons why they thought they couldn't transition or take steps. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree. Whenever Sarah talks about her dad, I sort of that's that's an interesting set of conversations. I'll just say that. I'll just say that because I'm Sarah's.
I could fill several weeks with conversation about my dad.
Yeah, I did. Maybe we should have a trauma session about it. Maybe the next trauma session we do, you should be you should have the topic, and you should write about what the fuck that is. Yeah. So parental trauma. Do you want to do Randy? You want to do parental trauma next Monday? I'm totally up for parental trauma.
I am down for parental.
Yeah, I'm 100% down for parental trauma. It's on Sarah now. Sarah, you're gonna do it. Fuck it, I don't care.
Yeah.
I guess I have homework this weekend.
Tune in next week when Sarah presents parental. Hold on, I can't. Mouse.
Type much?
There you go. Tune in next week when Sarah presents parental trauma.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dum, dum, dum. Sarah,
Don't worry, Sarah. We all have some to share.
Yeah, Sarah. If you're going to be in the band, you have to play an instrument in the band. You can't just stand there and look nice.
You can hold the baton, but sometimes you gotta pass it on.
Yeah.
But
I'm
what if
giving you
I'm
the baton?
tone
That means you
deaf?
got to run.
Oh no! I didn't know there was exercise involved.
This is why I tell Miranda and Brandon this. We can't break the band up because I feel like we have such good emotional synergy in these conversations, which is very clear by the Substack comments, because everybody in Substack is like, I learned so much when I watch your show. Great. Perfect. In an ideal world, I just do Trauma Live 3 times a week and write my stories. But I have to talk about political shit because people want to hear it. Well, fine. Okay, whatever. One thing I will tell you is, though, the talking points from the trauma sessions, future forward, and everyone that's watching, if you go to thistleandmoss.com, I will do a web publish of the talking points when I attach that to the live session that gets published on YouTube. Those usually happen 24 hours after, but it'll be the YouTube session with the attached text, because I think that those need to be written and preserved. So, and then on every Trauma Live that we do, I will drop that link in case you missed the previous week's episode, so that we can. But I don't give a shit because Sarah's going to do next week's show.
Woo!
And ask me questions. I don't want to. Yeah. Okay. By the way, one of our sister publications, I just want to point out the star behind me that's hanging on the thing that's hanging on my wall, was knitted by Lisa Joy. Yeah, there you go, star. So we all have those, who I am super thankful for, and her domain is Was It To You? You should go read her stuff because her reading material is very good. Okay. With that, Miranda, Onyx, Sarah, anything to close?
Not me.
No.
Great.
I've spilled tears today, so I'm happy.
Yeah, right. So Sarah will be on the on the hitch to go and grab the video so that people can post it. She botched the last one, so I'm trying not to judge her or whatever for not giving it to everybody the way that she was fucking supposed to do. You had one job to do.
Let's see if I don't get distracted today.
You had one job to do. Anyway, that's how we run the show. And so this time next week, same bat time, same relative bat time, same bat channel. 1:30. We'll start between 1 and 2. There's a channel where we talk about this, and it's like, can you hold off till 1:30? Yeah, sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, of course. Great. Okay. So Miranda, on Monday, will you be back at home by then?
I will be back from my trip then.
Okay, good. But are you
Ready to
going to
go.
Breckenridge? Can I ask you to take photos and do a post?
There will be photos.
Because Breckenridge is that's just such a beautiful region. And I don't know that I'm ever going to have it to hike up there again. I want to, but I don't know that I will. All right. Everybody have a glorious Yule. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Hanukkah. Happy winter solstice. Merry Christmas. Happy whatever.
Saturnalia.
Yeah, Saturnalia. I'm politically correct. I actually try to remember all of the holidays, but to me, it's just all just Yule because it was Yule before it was anything else, and so that's why I say happy Yule tidings. So eat, drink, be merry, be happy, do very many wonderful things, get insanely drunk, maybe do some things that put you under the influence of other natural substances if you were so inclined. Maybe you should do that too. I know I'm going to do it. And I love you all and thank you.
Happy holidays, y'all. Seriously.
Love y'all. Bye.
Bye.